We've come to the den to try and see if there's activity, and look, the two little ones are being quite boisterous this afternoon. They're out of the little hole and they've been over and running over Mom and leaning on her and been grooming Mom's face, and now she's just settled down to be able to start suckling. Now, I don't think Ribbon was the hyena that we saw earlier. She doesn't look the same. This hyena, or Ribbon that we see here, is quite slim and slender, whereas the hyena we saw just now looked like she had quite a belly on her. So I think it's a different one, and maybe that hyena will also show up here shortly, which would be incredible if we got to see another hyena at the den. I actually have a funny feeling that this is not the only den in the area. I think we've got another den site not too far from here, maybe south of where this den is, because the amount of hyena tracks that I saw on the road from this afternoon is pretty incredible. There's hyena tracks going up and down all over the road, so I think maybe there's another den where the rest of the clan could potentially be. So I think the next time I'm on walk, or I'm going to ask Steph to try and see if he can see anything south of us from where we are now. But you can see the little ones are starting to become very used to us. For the first few times we saw them, they would just sit by Mom and they weren't too playful, but now they're starting to get quite investigative and they're moving around quite a bit and chasing one another, and lots of little games starting to happen. And aren't they sweet? Look how pretty they are. No, you're not going to be able to suckle from that side. You're going to have to go around, little one. Now, I'm hoping that this little one's going to be greedy enough to try and go over Mom and go... no, Mom has ruined the game. I was hoping that she was going to try and lean over with her head and the whole backside was going to go over the top. It's quite funny when hyenas do that. Now, I wonder... Oh, Ribbon seems to be going to go find somewhere else to go lie down somewhere else in the grass. It's not going to be ideal for us if Ribbon lies in the grass because it's so long that we won't be able to see the little ones. So I'm hoping she comes back towards the hole again. Now, I believe lots of you are very excited to see the little babies, and it is exciting indeed. I haven't had a very good sighting of them yet, so this is the best sighting I've had, and they are cute little things. They really are bundles of joy, and a hyena den is just the best place to spend time, particularly when they're active like this and the little ones are moving around. I can see they're becoming a lot more adventurous and they're moving all over the place. One has gone round the back of the den and is moving there as well, so they're starting to explore their area, which is great because they're going to get more and more used to us, and the more that they do and the more that they explore, the more comfortable they'll be about coming a little bit closer and seeing what we are and not being so worried about us. Now, I'm just going to wait for them to settle down again and let them start suckling before I actually move the car, because as soon as I move, I'm pretty sure the little ones will go scurrying into their hole. At the end of the day, that's their defensive mechanism. They know if there's any strange sound or something that they have to worry about, they go bounding towards the hole where they go and hide. But isn't that sweet? Alright, so I think they're suckling now, so let's try see if we move around a little bit. I'm not sure we're actually going to get a better view, but let's just try. Just worried that the little ones are going to run. So Matt, you're 10 years old, and you want to know how old these baby hyenas are. Well, we don't know exact day of when they were born, but we can have a rough estimate. So we started to see the hyenas back in this area around February. That's when they started to come back, and there were tracks around this area from sort of the end of February. So I would say that these little ones now are probably about 5 weeks, maybe a little bit, between 4 and 6 weeks. That's what my estimate is going to be, somewhere around there. They're still black in coloration, and they're starting to grow a little bit, so they're not brand new, but I would say about 5 to 6 weeks old. I'm just trying to see where Ribbon is lying. Oh, it's difficult where she is now. Dave, can you see through that gap there?
Yes.
So it's going to be quite difficult for a little bit. So we're going to sit here and just see if maybe they're going to come out again and we're going to be able to see a better view. And while we do, let's jump across to Taylor, who's got a bird before it flies away. Thanks, Stefan. That leadwood tree is spectacular if it's the one I'm thinking of. But look at these little ones. Look how brave they're getting. They're coming to explore us and to see who we are and what we are. They came right up to the vehicle, so probably about, I would say, not even 10 feet away from the front of the car. And they were having a little sniff and a little look around. And now it looks like it's time for a little game. They've been running around and are far more energetic than the last time I saw them. The last time I saw them, all they were doing was having a good feed in the gloominess of the sunset or twilight, and so it's nice to see them out and about and playing a little more. Now, poor Ribbon is obviously fatigued. She's probably been dealing with these two most of the afternoon, and so she's just trying to catch a little nap, and especially now that the sun has gone away, it's going to be perfect for her to have a nice rest. It's nice and cool now. And here comes trouble again. I think one of them starting to come back towards Mom. It's having a little sniff around. Aren't they the sweetest little things? Isn't that amazing? Right, so we're going to spend a little bit longer with these two little hooligans. You can actually see that one's spots are starting to come out. And while we do that, let's go across to Taylor, who's got another animal that starts with an H. Now, the little ones unfortunately just ran off. They were literally a meter from us, and they got a little fright, unfortunately. I don't know if maybe it was the radio that went off that they got a little fright and they ran up towards the mound, but they are becoming very, very curious. There's Ribbon just checking around why they ran away, and the two of them looks like they're starting to come back, so let's see if they're going to come and be cheeky little naughty monsters again and come and see what we're doing. So let's see now. They are slowly but surely learning that we're not something that they need to worry about. Ooh, and a big stretch from Ribbon. I wonder if she's seeing the sun so low on the horizon that she knows now it's almost time to start getting going. Now she's going to lie it down right in the road for us, and the little ones are coming to investigate. Now let's see if they come towards us. You can just see in the corner of the frame there, that's the corner of the car. And isn't that amazing? Look at them. A little bit of loving for Mom. Little grooming. Aren't these two just the cutest little things? Little play fighting. Absolutely amazing. Now, this one that's a little bit darker, that has less spots on it, seems to me the braver of the two. I say that and it now runs off, but that's the one that keeps creeping closer first before the other one. You can see the other one likes to stay very close to Mom. But isn't this incredible? It's so special to spend time with these little things around the den and to see how they get curious. Such naughty little faces as well. It's very, very sweet to watch them exploring their landscape, and you'll probably find that they really haven't done too much exploring. Every time that I've seen Ribbon here, she's always been lying at the hole, so I don't think that they've spent too much time running around just yet. Also, every time I've come to the den, I've never seen any sign of her lying on the road. Oh, look at that. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that the sweetest little thing you've ever seen? Oh. And this is why I love hyena den sites. It completely just abolishes the myths and all the horror stories about hyenas, and it shows the softer side of them that people can actually really connect with and get to see why these are such incredible animals and why being around their den sites is so special. Look at this, look how inquisitive they are. Now they're coming right along to the vehicle. As you can see, I'm trying to stay out of the shot, but they're sniffing around. They want to see what this big object is and what it's doing here. Oh, little itchy ear as well. This is absolutely amazing. And they're getting braver and braver. It's quite funny. They come and they smell, and then they kind of go back to Mom when they lose their nerve. But slowly but surely they've come closer and closer this afternoon, and it really is quite amazing to see how quickly the confidence develops. You see there, they lose their nerve and they go bounding away a little bit, and then slowly but surely they'll work up the courage to come back again. What have you found? Looks like it was trying to pick something up. It looks like just to be a stump. I don't think there's a bone there. Sometimes there's little bones lying around. I don't think these ones have been eating meat just yet, but look at that. Poor Ribbon is not going to be getting any sleep. She's being climbed all over. Look at this. Isn't this amazing? Right, so Taylor says we're having a battle of cuteness. She says she's got cute hippos, but I don't know if anything can be cuter than these two little hooligans playing around together all over Mom. But let's go across to Taylor and see if her little hippos are any competition for our hyenas. Not only are they getting brave, but they're getting quite boisterous too. Look at these little ones pulling at each other and fighting, and this is all over milk. They're disturbing the peace. Whoopsie. Oops. So one of them has lost their mind. They're going crazy. It's game time now. I think that they know that it's almost bedtime, and so this is typical of little children. You know when it's bedtime, things go out of control. There's playing, and there's running, and there's shouting, and there's carrying on like hooligans before they get put into their bed, and I think that's a little bit of what we've got going here. But look at how even already at this age there's this fighting style that they have. They drop their bums down, they turn their head, and they kind of bite backwards and try and grab each other like that. So they're already practicing those techniques that they're going to use later in life. Oopsie. Now, I know hippos can be cute, but I don't think anything can be as cute as these two have been this afternoon. They've been very, very, very entertaining. I just love all the noises as well as they... Matt 810, you reckon the hyenas are cuter than the hippos? I agree. I reckon these are... Ah, Matt age 10. Sorry, Megan. Her comms are a little bit scratchy where I am. But age 10, Matt, I agree. The hyenas are very cute, aren't they? They're like little puppies. The hippos, while they are cute and they do play a lot, the hyenas just have that puppy feel, which I suppose is a little bit closer to home, and that's why we tend to be endeared towards these little ones. But they're very, very sweet. So, Michael, this is an interesting question. You're wondering whether it's possible to sex them now that they are so close. Well, Michael, I suppose we could if we looked, but even when they are born, the male and females, the female still develops those fake male scrotum and genitals, and so it is quite tough. You've got to kind of wait until you can see their penis and be able to see whether it's either straight, which would be a female, or if it has a sort of protrusion on the end, which is the male. So I was looking at them just now. It looks like one is definitely a male. The other one I can't tell just yet, but it looks like one of them is the male, and that's the one that's got more spots. So the one that is closest to us currently now, that one looks like a little male, but I can't be certain just yet. I think we're going to have to give it a few more weeks until we can be 100% certain which is which, and whether or not they're male or female, but it does look like one little male at least. So, Reese, you're wondering at what age will Ribbon's cubs leave the den for good? Well, in all likelihood, Reese, they'll probably leave the den between sort of 7 and 9 months. So 8 months is a kind of number that we use, but it's obviously, like anything in the wild, is a little bit dependent on the individual. So anywhere between 7 and 9 months. I've even seen hyenas as old as 12 months, still quite bound to the den site, but they do go on nightly forays, and then they come back to the den site during the day when the adults are back and suckling their little ones. Oh, when life gets too hard, just flop down and roll onto your back. Isn't that amazing? That's so cool. That's amazing. We have been absolutely spoiled this afternoon. So yeah, they do probably around 8 months is what I would reckon that they're going to start going out and exploring even during the night and not be den bound with Mom. This little one, let's see if it'll come up close. You can see it's right here. So I'm going to try just get out of the shot a little bit. It is very, very close to us. Isn't that amazing? That really is so, so special. like I said, that little one that's a little bit darker seems to be the braver one. That's the one that keeps coming up to us and seeing what we are. And let's do a bit of mountain climbing and climb over the top of Mom. Alright guys, so it is starting to get quite dark and gloomy, which means that we cannot leave our good friend Steph out in the wilds on foot. So I think we're going to go across to him so he can say his goodbyes, and then we're going to come right back to the hyenas and see if these little ones will carry on playing for us. Well, I'm glad Steph's on his way back, even though he is the Bear Grylls of South Africa and could probably karate chop anything that came his way with one pinky finger. It is better that he gets back into the safety of camp. He goes and puts his feet up a bit. Our fearless leader has been working quite hard over the last few weeks, so we don't want to tire him out too much. Now, talking about tiring themselves out, I think these little ones, as much as they run around, they also need the nutrients to be able to sustain this hive of activity that they've been displaying this afternoon. And so it's now back to a little drink. And like I was saying, because the light is starting to fade, I reckon that this is going to be their last little suckle before Mom starts putting them to bed. It's unfortunately, when it starts to go dark, they then get put into the hole and it's time for them to sleep and to rest. But you can see, I always laugh at hyenas. There's two teats there that they can suckle from, but it's typical with siblings, and I know this is how I was with my brother. If he has something, then you have to have it too. So you can't share different things, but use different things. You have to share the same thing. And so there's this fighting that goes on over the same things. So it's just like naughty children that get competitive over the smallest stuff. It looks like Mom has sorted it out with a little leg flick there, and now both of them are onto different teats and both happy suckling now. So Daniel, we were talking a little bit earlier about the age that they leave the den, and you're wondering at what age they'll join Ribbon on foraging patrols or hunting patrols. Well, I suppose it's dependent. At 8 months, they're probably a little bit still too small to participate in the robbing of lions, let's say, of a kill, or even the competitive nature of leopards, kills. But in terms of the hunting, they would probably still be sort of observers at 8 months. So generally, from my experience and what I've seen in this area, about 1.5 years is when they actually start being quite active in terms of foraging and scavenging, and then about 2 years when they can actually start bullying other predators and start really taking over from other predators' food items. So it takes a while until they can do that. From 8 months to about 1.5 years, they're just learning. They watch what the clan gets up to and they see what goes on, and they're also growing at that stage, so they're just getting the size that's going to be needed to be able to take on the big apex predators of Africa in the form of lions and leopard. So until then, it's more a student program. It's like going to college. They get kicked out of the house, but they have to go and learn their trade before they get older. Ooh, take care. This is an interesting one. I'm actually not sure what the answer to this is, but you're wondering how much milk they drink daily. Now, I actually don't know. I would have to hazard a guess. I would say, no, I'd probably say that they're drinking, I would say probably between 500 mils and a litre a day. I don't know. Maybe somewhere around there. I'll try and investigate and see. Maybe some of you out there know. You can send through your answers to #AtSafariLive and let us know what you think. But I would imagine somewhere around there. Maybe a little bit more than that, given that they are growing now. And their bellies always look to be so full at this age. It seems like they never stop suckling. But I would say about 500 mils. That would be my guess, but I could be completely wrong. Isn't that amazing? It's incredible to actually see the difference between the two of them already. So even though they're born at the same time, the fact that one is still so much darker than the other is quite amazing. You can see those little eyes are just open, although they're getting heavier and heavier. So Taylor has also been listening in to our conversation about milk, and she was saying that hyena milk is incredibly nutrient rich and that they can go a week without the milk, which I did know, but she also is not sure how much they actually can take in on a day. I think it's obviously dependent also on the female as to how much milk she's producing, whether or not she's been eating correctly and has got a lot of nutrients in her milk, because the less she eats, the less nutrient rich the milk will be that she produces. So I think there's a lot of factors involved, and the less nutrient rich, I would imagine, the more milk they actually try to take on. But I'll try and do some research and see what we can find out and see what they actually consume. Now I'm just thinking about sort of normal dogs and cats and how much you would generally feed them as little ones. So, very feisty this evening. Claire, you're wondering if the hyena's tongue is rough like a cat or smooth like a dog. Well, Claire, I can tell you that I've never actually physically felt a hyena tongue, and from my general sort of dealings with hyenas and watching them up close on carcasses, when they lick a carcass, you definitely do not get that same kind of sandpapery sound that you get when a cat licks a carcass. So it doesn't sound the same. So I would imagine that they are more like dogs in that way, and that their tongue is a little bit smoother. And I've also never noticed when a hyena yawns, those big sort of backward-facing claw-like structures that the cats have on their tongue. So I don't think so, but I might be wrong. I have never ever heard that sound or actually even seen them utilize their tongues like a cat will to lick off things. They normally chew and try and crunch and swallow big chunks than to actually lick and get rid of anything. Well, Shannon, you're all the way from Ohio, and you want to know how many litters this hyena can have in a year. Well, just one, Shannon. So she's going to have this little one, and then she's going to nurse it for the next 8 months, and then from there the little ones start to kind of move around with her, and she teaches them what's going on for the next couple of months, and she'll only really start breeding in about a year's time, year and a half's time. So it's only once a year that she has little ones. Even though she has a very short gestation period, it's quite a long suckling period. And it's like most predators. Most predators, their gestation periods are very, very short because they try and get rid of the little ones as quick as possible, because the little ones take a lot of space, slow them down, which means that they really struggle to hunt. And so they try to get the little babies out as quick as possible, and often the babies are born very underdeveloped, and it means that they've got to suckle them and look after them in den sites for long periods of time until they're strong enough and big enough to be able to move around. Also, when you're a predator, and particularly a hyena, you've got to fight a lot with other predators, and so you need to grow and get a little bit bigger before you can start venturing out into the world and start fighting with others. And that's why they are den bound for so long, and why she only has a litter every, I'd say it's probably a year and a half to 2 years between litters. It also depends on the females, so the higher ranking females tend to put out more. Bobby, since we're looking at the little ones, and you see that there are 2 of them, you're wondering how many are born to a hyena at once. And just remember, Bobby, that these are not pups, they're called cubs. So baby hyenas are cubs, they are not puppies, and they are only ever as many as 2. Sometimes you'll see 1, and that sometimes can be because of siblicide, where 2 females are born and 1 female kills the other one out of competitive streak. But generally, if they have the most they can have is 2 at a time. They only have 2 teeth, so anything more than that would be too much competition and they wouldn't be able to feed themselves. So she only has 2, but you'll find their first couple litters, often it's only just the 1 by itself. And then again, when they get very, very old, they tend to only produce 1. It's very similar to leopards, actually, and in lions, their litter sizes get bigger during their prime years and then start to fade off as they start to get a little bit older. Oh, look at that, being groomed a little bit. So, Aaron, this is quite a pertinent question, because actually if you look at the back there, you can see the one is starting to show its spots. So you want to know what age the spots start to show. Well, generally the spots start to show now at about 6 to 8 weeks old is when you start to see the spots coming out, and by the time they reach about 7-8 months, the spots are completely out and all the black is gone. So you can already see the one at the back, which unfortunately now is laid down. Its spots are starting to show quite a lot. And this little one on its shoulder there, you can see the first of the little spots starting to show. So there's a little spot. It's its first one as far as I can see. And there's a couple others that are darkening within that dark fur. And slowly but surely that fur is going to come out and you're going to start seeing those spots developing. But at about 8 months, the metamorphosis is complete and they become the spotted hyenas like Ribbon. But you can see how alert she is, how she's listening all the time. She knows now's the time of the day when all the daylight animals are going to sleep. The nocturnals are starting to come out. She might start hearing her clan calling in the distance, so she's just listening and using those big satellite-like ears to be able to hear what's going on. She also seems to be listening to my voice. Hello, Ribbon, how are you? I think it's more the fact that we're just sitting behind her and she's intrigued by this big vehicle. Right, so what I think is, because it's getting very dark now and I don't want to put lights on these little ones, we're actually going to leave them alone. They've absolutely spoilt us this afternoon, so I think it's time for us to leave them and let them do their own thing and let the babies go to bed. And while we do that, let's go across to Taylor and see what she's going to be looking for in the twilight hours.